Hey guys, it's Stephanie with Simarchy, and welcome to part 5 of Let's Build featuring the Lamb family. Now, if you remember part 1, we went ahead and built the family, which created of the mother Aurora, the father Russ, the two teenage daughters Candace and Carrie, and then the youngest son Ken. In part 2 of Let's Build, I created the exterior of the home and did a little bit of the front landscaping. In part 3, I worked on laying out the inside of the home, and then in part 4, I worked on the living room, kitchen, and the master suite bathroom. So in this part 5, I am going to be working on the parents' bedroom as well as the backyard. And then there should be 2 more videos following this, part 7 and part 6. Which should complete the series. I'm pretty sure that's going to be it. Now, it did end up being a little bit longer than I had planned on, so sorry about that, but that just means there's plenty more for you to watch. So right now I am working on Aurora and Russ's bedroom. And since I stuck with, a little bit of more neutral colors for the walls throughout the first floor, I wanted to keep it a little bit more muted with the parents' bedroom as well. But I did decide to use green instead of beige just for something a little bit different. And right now I'm trying to find the perfect bed for them. I do end up using this one, which has more of like an antique-y feel, which I know is a little bit different than the rest of the home because it tends to have a bit more modern touches with pops of color. But since Aurora is a supernatural fan and she's into vampires and werewolves and things, and they're usually depicted from an older time, I figure she's also into the antiques and the feel of that sort of style as well. So her room is definitely going to be fun, definitely a little bit more classic, but I think it suits her pretty well, and for what type of personality she has. She is totally into the supernatural stuff, but she's also very family oriented and friendly as well. And of course, Russ wants to be a pretty much like a monster hunter. He wants to be a paranormal profiteer, which is a ghost hunter. So yeah, I mean, they're just the perfect couple, right? They can research and have fun together. So now I'm looking for the end tables, and these ones are really cute, but they are store content. So of course, if you download the home, they're going to be replaced with something else if you don't have them. But again, it's not a big part of the features of the home. It's just a little accent table, so it shouldn't be a big deal to replace those with something else. And I'm putting candles on top. They're like a little seashell with a candle inside, and I think they're really cute. I can't remember if those are store content too or not, but I did want to add some mood lighting in this room in addition to the square lights and the ceiling fixtures. So that's why I went with the candles on the end table there. And even though the room is carpeted, I'm adding an additional rug just to section off the bed space a bit. And okay, so over on this side is going to be sort of Aurora's dressing area. So gosh, I think that's more store content there, sorry. But yeah, they'll just be replaced with the regular dresser, I believe anyways, which isn't a huge deal. But she has the dresser there so she can keep all her clothes and Russ's clothes too, of course, but Mom gets extra space because she wants to be fashionable, and she definitely has more clothes than he does. She also has the vanity there so she can do her hair and makeup and put on her perfume and all that fun stuff when she's getting ready. And I'm changing the colors a bit just so that they match the bed. It's pretty matchy-matchy, but I think it's okay because it has that like old antique feel, so I want it to look like it was an actual bedroom set that she purchased together. And just plopping up some makeup on top of the counter, and I believe I also put some perfume bottles. That little tray right there is so cute, but that is also store content, but it's one of my favorite pieces. I believe it's store content, but I think it's super cute. I mean, I try not to use a lot of it, but, sometimes I do, so sorry. But you could definitely go on there and use your Sims points to purchase them if you would like, if you see an item that you really love. And, okay, so there I put the perfume as well, and now I'm going to look for a matching chair for the vanity. And I want something that, again, has sort of that antique feel, but doesn't look like it's, completely out of place. So I went with this one that it's more of a traditional dining chair. It has like the 2 wood panels on the side, but I figured it matched pretty well. And I'm changing the cushion to just add a little bit more texture and color to it as well. It's sort of like a greenish blue there. And even though the vanity has a mirror, I wanted to add a tall standing mirror as well, just to take up some space in that corner, and also so that Aurora can have like a full body view when she's getting dressed, so she can make sure, her shoes and everything matches and looks good together. And let's see, what else am I doing here? I'm trying to figure out like what to do next. I know that I want her to have a TV and a bookshelf for sure, but we're gonna go ahead and do the TV first. And here I struggle with trying to decide if I should do a floor model or something up against the wall. I do want the TV to look like it fits in with the antique theme, but there's nothing that really works unless I use like that giant one. And I thought it was a little bit too overpowering for the room. So I am just gonna end up going with a flat screen wall TV. Even though it doesn't have an antique look, it's the best one suited for this space here. And, Russ and Aurora can lie in bed and watch TV straight from the bed, so it's pretty cool to have that there, especially since the living room is a bit on the small side. Everybody needs to have some entertainment in their bedrooms as well, or of course they can use the outside, which you'll see the awesome backyard later that I create. And right there I added another dresser, which is sort of a dresser / media console. Of course they can use it for storage for anything, but since it's sitting right under the TV there, it's perfect to also hide your electronics and such. And I'm changing the color of that one to also match the bed and the vanity. And I was trying to change like all the hardware on all 3 pieces to match, but on one of them you couldn't change it. I can't remember which one. So they all have sort of like a brassy or gold sort of tone on the handles and such. And now I'm looking for little decoration items to put on top of the dresser. And I have that cool clock that I think is store content again. Sorry, this room's going to be full of store content, but I don't know, it's sort of vintage and antique looking, so I figured it went in perfect with the room. And then there's my little piggy bank as well, which again is store content, and so is that rose vase. But yeah, it's just decoration items. You can leave it empty if you download it, or you can add your own decor on there, since they're store items and you may or may not have them. And now I'm adding the bookshelf. Since she is into the supernatural and paranormal stuff, she is going to be doing a lot of research and obviously needs a lot of books to read. So, I think that's a pretty decent sized bookshelf so she can store everything. And now in this corner, I'm adding a reading nook. So there's going to be 2 tables and a chair so that Russ and Aurora can relax, just get their mind off of things, work and whatever, and read and relax and just have a cozy room where they can sort of escape everything, get away from the kids for a little bit, because I imagine having 3 children, especially with 2 of them being teenagers, you definitely need your own space to go and relax from time to time. So there is a little table with some more books underneath it, and those 2 classic looking chairs that, the color scheme matches the room as well. Again, this one is going to be a little bit more muted than the rest of the home, but I am still putting a bit of color with the greens and the blues mixed in with the browns and the beiges as well. And I'm just making the table and the chairs all match, so they're all that same dark wood. I didn't want to use the light wood again because I don't want it to be too matchy, then it just starts to look boring. So I added a fabric on there that has a very, classic antique print. And now I am putting the little lamp on the nightstand / bookstand and making this one more of like a deeper red color. It's already a red, but I want it more of like a deep maroon. So just using the color wheel to change that up a little bit and to change the color of the base on the lamp as well. And now I'm looking for more decorations to put over here just to fill up the space a bit. So I went with a little hanging plant, which I think just adds a cute little touch there to that corner, to the reading corner. And just using the Alt on the keyboard to be able to freely move that into place so it sits directly on top of the book table. And just doing a quick overview of the room to see what else I can add, what else I can put, because that left corner still is a bit empty. And real quick, I'm changing the colors on the mirror as well. The green, it sort of was like a green metal color before, which blended in too much with the carpet, so I just switched that up a little bit. And now I'm adding in these baskets over here, which again, store content, you know the spiel, but I'm gonna go ahead and find some little objects to put inside of those so it doesn't look so empty. But first I'm just gonna change the color to a little bit of a darker brown. And to find objects to put inside of the baskets is a little bit tough because I obviously have to use the Move Objects cheat to be able to place them in there. But I want to make sure whatever I put in there looks like it fits and isn't sort of like clipping off to the side or clipping into the other basket. But those two items seem to work pretty perfectly. On the left there is just some books and scrolls and things, and the basket on the right has some, I believe that was like pottery. And here I want to add a little bit of art, but I don't want it to be on the wall. I want it to look like it's a canvas that either she's working on or hasn't hung yet. So I'm looking for a piece that'll look like it's actually sitting on the floor there without clipping into the window or anything weird. And I really like that one. I think it was called Eternal Life. I feel like it just fits in well. The colors and everything look really good. But see how it clips into the window there? So I'm going to turn another cheat. I don't know which cheat I just did, but I just decided to move it over to the left a little bit instead because I couldn't really pull it out enough so that it still sat in the right area. It was either going to pull way too forward or sit way too back. So yeah, I just moved everything to the left a little bit. And now I'm just rearranging the chairs a tiny bit, just so it fills up the space a bit more evenly. And I think the parents' room is done. So let's see, now you know, you can pretty much see everything I did in the last video, the living room, kitchen, and such. I did mention in the last video that I did the walls and the flooring in the hallway, but that I would come back and do the decor later. So I'm adding a couple of rugs. They're just, you know, carpet runners, just to split up the beige a bit and to make it look a little bit more lived in. There's not a whole lot you can do with hallways, but you know, you don't want to completely ignore them either because it is part of the home and it needs to be decorated as much as possible without being overwhelming. You know, just a little carpet, a little mirror, a little wall art here and there is what I usually go for. And so here I'm looking for some framed art to put on the wall. And I just duplicate the same one over there. I try not to use the same one twice, but I thought it looked pretty cool and it fit well in the space, so I figured I would just use the same one again. And I'm going to add a cute little bench underneath the window here, which is probably more so for decoration than anything. I can't really imagine anyone using this area, but it is there if they want to just sit, you know, by themselves by the window and read without having anyone really disturb them. So I'm playing with the pattern of the pillows on the little window bench there and made it more of a green color. Now I'm taking a quick look around the home to make sure I didn't forget anything on the first floor before I move on to the backyard. All right. Oh, yeah, I guess I did forget something. Before we do the backyard, I'm going to make sure and fill up the front porch a little bit. I did talk in one of the previous videos about how I wanted to leave it 3 squares wide so I can put a bit of seating in there. And it's not going to be anything that will probably be used a lot, but just something to add a bit more features to the front so it doesn't look so empty. I imagine they would use the backyard much more than the front, but it still doesn't hurt to have extra seating, especially since it's a large family, and with 3 kids, there's probably going to be a lot of friends coming over, maybe some parties and such. So the more seating, the better for your friends and family to hang out and relax. And I really like this bench. It does play more on the antique feel of the parents' room instead of the modern feel of the rest of the home. But I thought it looked like a cute piece that would go outside. So I was trying to change the cushion inside to look more like a material that would be friendly for the water in case it rains. But I think I go through and change that again because it's too much brown, beigey, murky colors that it doesn't really pop at all. And I'm adding a side chair as well. This is the Poets. I didn't see what that said, but it's just a little side chair for more seating. And this one, I think I end up making it purple. I wasn't sure exactly what colors to use that were gonna pop against the dark brown wood of the deck, but still look fun and exciting. So yeah, I went with purple there. And on this side, I'm also gonna add some plants because I don't want to add too much seating because then it just looks like a bunch of chairs randomly all over the place. So I add that little plant there as well. And I'm going to copy the purple chair over here just for a couple more areas to sit and relax. So yeah, this is where I go back and I'm trying to decide what color to make the cushion, but I figure I'll do purple to match. I think it looks good. I don't know. You guys can always change that if you're not crazy about it. But then I decide to just copy the exact purple from the chair onto it so it looks like it's a cohesive set. And I think that's pretty much it for the front porch. I always forget to do lighting outside. That's something I don't know, hopefully I remember to do in the future. Also, I just realized I forgot to put real lights in the hallway, so that's something that you can add, of course, as well. And now moving on to the backyard. I had already done the deck in a previous video, so this one's going to focus more on just the decorating and the landscaping back here. And right now I'm trying to decide what to put on the back porch, but I ultimately decided that a grill is the best idea. They do have a nice large kitchen, but you know, in case they want to pop in the back and grill some hot dogs or some burgers, they have that option as well. And now I'm going to be looking for the barbecue instruments to put next to the grill as well. If I have room, I always try to throw those in there just because it makes it look like, you know, it's actually being used. So this is a little outdoor table so that I can put the barbecue instruments on top of. And you have to pretty much scroll through the miscellaneous decor to find it. I feel like this is such a huge menu of stuff though, so I probably will at some point create a collection, I think it's called. But yeah, you can basically create collections where it's just moving some items into a separate folder that you can quickly access. And it's something that I did do one time, but once I reinstalled my game, I forgot to save that folder, and I didn't realize that it deleted all of the collections that I had created. So I was a bit frustrated and never felt like going back and doing it again because it was so time consuming. But I think I will at some point because you can literally separate it out so that you have a folder for, you know, all your kitchen stuff, and then you have another one for all your, you know, statues, and then another one for all your books, and another one for all your, you know, bathroom accessories, because there's not a search function to look for anything, and the categories that the game automatically puts things in don't always make sense. So it's a really cool feature if you have the time to do it, especially if you build a lot. It comes in really handy. So hopefully I get the motivation to do that at some point because it will help. It will definitely help. But right now I am adding a hot tub, and I love hot tubs. Like in real life, they are one of my favorite things. I recently moved into an apartment, so I had to sell mine, and I really do miss it. So I try to put them in my Sims builds just to make me feel better, to feel like I actually have one, even though I don't. I mean, I could still take a nice bath here and there, but nothing compares to a big jetted hot tub in the backyard. It's something I definitely miss. And I created sort of a secluded area. This is actually off of mom and dad's room, which is good because they can see from the windows in case the kids are getting into anything that they shouldn't be. But it's also sort of like just a little private area for mom and dad to relax as well. And I want it to look really cozy, so that's why I added the privacy fence and the plants around it. And now I have this extra space here behind the driveway that I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do. I know that I don't really want a garage in this build because if I had to build a proper, 3 or 4 car garage, it would take up a lot more space than just putting the parking spaces behind each other as I did. But there's still this extra part here that isn't big enough to park an additional car. So I decided just to create a little shed. It's not functional, of course, it's just purely for decoration, but I don't know, most homes have a shed in the backyard so that you could put, your lawnmower and your yard tools and things like that, or use it just for extra storage. So I figured why not create one here. It's pretty simple to do, just to use the wall tools and the roof tools, and you could just create a little shed back here. I'm trying to figure out which doors to use though, because the barn ones are cool, but it's not a barn, it's just a little shed. So I ended up just using these, which I think are still technically barn doors, but they're not like the big red ones. They just fit perfectly, and yeah, it looks more like an outdoor door. But I added another tree there just to, increase the privacy a bit, and to section the space off from the driveway. And I have another tree and picnic table over on that side as well. Using the terrain paint tool to add dirt underneath the tree to make it look like it's actually growing out of the ground and not just weirdly placed in the grass. So now that I have the shed where it's going to sit, I wanted to add a little bit of a pathway to make it look like, there's a path going into the hot tub area. I just think it looks really cute to do that, and it's the same gray flagstone that I used in the front yard coming from the stairs to the sidewalk. And I want the hot tub to sort of look like it's sitting, built on top of the stone, instead of directly into the grass. And yeah, I think it ended up looking pretty cool. And the hot tub I used has a little bit of greenery built into it. It's sort of serene looking. It's got like the cool little rocks. And I think it's my favorite hot tub in the game. It's probably the one I use most out of all of them. Okay, so now I did mention I was going to try to include a pool, and this isn't the ideal space for a large pool. However, I definitely wanted one in here so that while mom and dad are relaxing in the hot tub, the kids have somewhere to cool off and swim and play as well. So I figured that space right there is good as any other. There's already barbecue on the porch, and there's already the picnic table where they can sit. So I figured a pool would be like the next best thing to put there, since there's already seating and things like that around the home. And I'm just using the floor tool to create what looks like a deck around the pool. I just use one of the basic wood patterns to make it look like the pool's actually got a deck around it, which isn't really big enough to sit on, but it's enough to walk around. And I feel like this is a little bit too big, so I am going to go through and just make it a little bit smaller. I feel like it sticks too much into the pathway there, so I'm going to try to remove a few tiles, which I kept messing up and removing the wrong tile. But eventually I get it, and moving the deck back a little bit too. So I think that just fits a little bit better. It's, not a huge pool, but it's enough. It's enough to swim in. And I struggle trying to put the ladder. I'm not sure if it's because I had the move objects cheat on, but I don't know. I couldn't quite figure it out, and you don't actually need one. Your Sims can get in and out fine without a ladder, so I decided not to use it. But I have seen in a video before where someone turned the pool into more like a dark blue, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. So that's what I'm doing here as well. I changed the flooring to a dark blue, and now I'm changing the tile on around the perimeter of the pool as well. And I don't know, I think it looks way, way better that way. So now I'm looking for some seating to add in as well. Again, it's not like a huge deck, so I can't really put the lounge chairs or the umbrellas or anything like that, but I can add in a couple chairs just to sit down and dry off or whatever. You know, maybe have a little bit of lemonade or read a magazine by the pool as well. And I made those, you know, orange just so they pop against the brown a little bit, but not too much. I think the whole backyard has like a very serene and calming vibe to it. It's something that I would personally have in my own home. I know a pool is a lot more maintenance than a hot tub, but if I did have one, it would probably be about that size. And yeah, I like it. I think it's cute. So now I'm moving back over to the shed. Again, I wanted it to look like it's some sort of storage, kind of like a catch-all for the items that they don't want in the home, but don't necessarily want to throw away. And I'm not sure if there actually is a lawnmower or anything like that in the game, but there wasn't one that I could think of or see immediately. So instead, I just picked some random construction items. I didn't know what else to put in here, but yeah, just like a bucket, going through and seeing what else is in here that I can just throw in the shed. I've got that little sawhorse there, which, yeah, I mean, that's something you would definitely find in a garage or a shed anyway. And I'm copying the ceiling light over here so I can see what I'm actually doing because it's so dark in there. All right, so now you can see a little bit better. So yeah, I have the bucket and the sawhorse, and I just did like a basic, you know, wood floor and wood wall to make it look like it was something maybe they built or threw together themselves. And now just looking for some more objects to put inside of there as well. I am changing the color of the sawhorse because it's so, I don't know, everything's so light beige and brown in here that you couldn't really tell what it was. So by changing it to a darker wood, I think it just, you know, pops a little bit more. And just trying to think what else I could put in here. I tried to put those protester signs, but they didn't quite fit. Even when I used the move objects sheet, I didn't think that it really flowed well. So yeah, just going through and seeing what else is in here. I guess I do leave those protester signs. I thought I took them out. I'm not sure. Yeah, I wish there were more like items that look like gardening items, like maybe a rake or a shovel or things like that. And you know, there very well might be. I just don't know about them. So I'm just working with what I have or what I can find easily. Which again, this is where the collections would come in so handy if I just take the time to rebuild those for myself. Because what I did last time was I literally went through like every single category, I think, and said, okay, here's some nice tabletop items, here's some nice floor items, here's some nice kitchen items. And it was so handy to have that. Like, I know I keep saying that, but I wish I didn't accidentally delete it, because I could have had those at my fingertips without all the extra hard work. So here I did go ahead and throw a bicycle in there, and I think that was like a broomstick holder, but whatever, it looks like it belongs in there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The backyard's done. In the next video, I will go ahead and work on the bedrooms upstairs. I really appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.